Okay, let's start the meeting. Welcome to the new IGX demo session. Let me introduce myself. I'm Chitra Tandol, Administrative Analyst for NEQIPA Unit of Workforce Development. I joined the IGX team last July. You must have gotten some emails from me and this meeting invite. I am the lead for the non-comp area of Sage and IGX, and I'm partnering with Ann Lord as the IGX administrator. Competitive grants for the IGX are led by Anne, and we are assisted with our staff, Sean Sullivan, Constant Johnson. Sean works with me on the non-comp IGX needs, and Constant assist Anne for the competitive events. And I have here with me Anne Lord, Sean, Constance, and our vendor team, Brandy Morehouse and Serena Beckman from Agate. Agate is our vendor for the IGX, and Brandy is the lead for the IGX system. I want to tell you a few things about the IGX. Sage system actually will be used for the activities for all the document related FY24 and before, and IGX system will be used only for the grants FY25 and beyond. So until all the grant vouchers reports are completed for FY24 and before, Sage will be available and must be used. And for any grants FY25 and beyond, IGX must be used. So for the next 18 months to 24 months before all the activities on the FY24 or before are completed, Sage will be used along with IGX for the FY25 needs. They both will be used simultaneously for some time. But both the systems are independent of each other. Like, for example, if you have a new user to be added, they need to be added to both the systems. So some of you may be already using the IGX for your other projects, competitive projects, but for Sage only users, IGX will be a new system. Our goal today is to give a demo for all the areas and go over some new features that IGX has compared to the Sage. IGX is much improved and very user friendly compared to Sage, and it has a lot more new features to assist the users. And it's very easy to navigate and find the data that you're looking for. We again welcome you for this IGX demo. Brandy from Agate is going to give us the demo for IGX today. If you have any questions regarding any topics that we go over today in this demo, you can type it in the chat window. We will address it as we go along. And I'll let everyone introduce themselves from the QIPA team, starting with Anne.
Hi, welcome to the IGX training for local areas. I know this is something that we did earlier a couple months ago so that you guys could test in the test system. So this will be a review for some of you that attended that first meeting. As Teacher said, we are recording this. Everyone on our team is there to help you if you get stuck. Even if you go to the recording and get stuck, don't hesitate to reach out to Teacher Sean or myself and Constance, and we can jump on a call just like this and walk you through it, because it is new to all of us. So, you know, we would be more than willing to jump on and help you all. Thank you. Sean?
Hello, everyone. I'm sure a couple of you have talked to me quite a few times. My name is Sean Sullivan, and I work with the QIPA team as well. As Ann said, if there's anything that you guys need, we're happy to help and jump on a Teams call with you guys. Thank you.
And Constance.
Hi, I work alongside usually the competitive side with Ann, but if they're out or if they need my help, I'll also be helping you guys also. I'm kind of new to the team also, so this demo will be good for me also because I'll be learning some new stuff also probably.
Thank you. Brandy?
Right. And I am Brandy Morehouse. You all may have seen or talked to me over your course of working within Sage or IGX, either place. And I will be giving your demo. So hello, I am going to take myself off camera for the duration of the demo just to ensure the best quality of your streaming. And I will begin to share my screen now. You all can see that.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so welcome to IGX, everyone. What you're seeing now is our login screen. So this is the default page you will come to when you type in our IGX URL, which, just a reminder, is very similar to what you're used to in the regular old Sage for your older grants. The only difference is you swap the NJ Sage for NJDOL. So here we are with NJDOL.intelligrants.com. And so this is our login screen. We've got a couple of things to note here. We've got our main information bubble here. You may also, over time, see some announcements placed over here when we have new things released, such as one note that's on here that will be a big difference for you moving into IGX from NJ Sage is multi-factor authentication. When you go to log in for your first time, the system will prompt you to validate yourself with either an email or a text or phone call to receive a confirmation number that you'll enter in and make sure that you are who you say you are and should be accessing this account. Also note that all of your profiles have been migrated over from the old system. So your usernames and passwords that you're currently using in NJ Sage are also going to already be here on IGX, and you should be able to log in with the same exact credentials. And so the email and the phone number that you would have had on your profile in the previous system is also here and what will be used for your multi-factor authentication. If you have any issues with getting logged in because maybe some profile information was out of date when we migrated it, please reach out to Chitra, Ann, Sean, Constance, any of us, and we'll be happy to help get you in. So another thing to note about this screen before I do log in is a couple of links. Over here in this login box, we have a login assistance link. And so what you may have been used to in the previous system is the option to retrieve a forgotten password. Now we also have the ability to retrieve your username. Should you lose track of that and need to track that down, we can click this link and use our email to retrieve this information. If we forgot our username, it's just going to ask for your email. I'm going to go back to our login screen. Please also note that if you had a new user that wanted to register, we have this new user link right here that will open up a registration modal to fill in all necessary information for a new user to register. But if we are just adding or needing to add a user to one of your already existing county organizations, we'll do that from within the system once you've already logged in. And I'll show you how to self-service that in just a few minutes. So now I'm going to go ahead and log in with my authorized official role. In this case, today I am Serena. On logging in, we land here on what we are calling a dashboard. And so our dashboard contains many panels and lots of access options to get anywhere we might need to go in the system. So we have some panels down here, which I will get into a little bit more in a few minutes. But I want to show you over here in the top right corner, you'll see this is my user's name. And so if I click on my name, I have some options. I can edit this dashboard, this view right here that I'm seeing. We can choose how this looks, move the panels around, stretch them out if we want a larger sized panel, or if we want to access our document messages, which used to be a panel in the older system already on your dashboard. It's no longer a default panel for your dashboard, but it is always accessible through this banner clicking on your name. But more importantly, I want to show you your profile. So if we click on profile, this will take you to your user's profile, which is very similar to what you had in the old system. Scrolling down to the bottom, you'll see we have the option to edit our password if we need to. But more importantly, what's different here is we can see our organization information and links a little more easily available compared to the old system. So on my right side, I am seeing a little modal that explains my user's association with organizations. So in this case, my user Serena is associated with my test organization, but I'm also associated with the Jersey City organization. And again, this is just a test account. This is on the test site. This is not real life. So please do not take any offense, Jersey City, if you're on with us today. But this is just for testing. So we can see I am associated with both of these organizations with this role since this date, and I was assigned by this person. If that association was inactivated and perhaps I am no longer going to be associated with Jersey City, but I will stay with my test org, we would see that inactive date here, and this would always still stay with my user for reference. So then if we move over to the left side of the screen, we see we've got some other options. And so we call this a navigation panel, auxiliary navigation panel officially. You can just call it your nav menu that lists out links to other screens that you can access from your profile. And so we see both of those organization names that I'm from over here. Note that there's a little caret here. We can collapse and expand if we only wanted to see one org at a time. But from here, we can click into any of these screens, and I'm going to just go into organization information. So I can click here, and this is the generic organization information screen that you would have seen in the old system by clicking on My Organization. From here, we can also access, most importantly, I think, organization members. So this is a screen that I think you'll have to interact with most throughout your organization, just to facilitate what users should be associated with your organization. We can view any of this information, as in what their role is, when they were activated, or if they were inactivated. Along with some other information, we can click on this pencil to edit that information if we want. Let's say that this person should no longer be active. Well, I clicked one that was already inactive, so it's already there. But if we were inactivating someone, this is where you would enter that date so that they would no longer have access to anything associated with this organization. A nice thing about IGX is that we also have these filters above that can let us search through. I know many of your counties have a very large volume of users for servicing so very many grants across New Jersey, and that means there's a lot of people to sift through. If you need to work on a particular person, you can search it out here. So I could just type in Serena and find myself. Now, the next thing that I want to show you from this screen, and I think will be used most from here, is this handy dandy plus button in the right corner. Allows us to add users to our organization. And we have two different ways to go about this. We can add a brand new user to the organization, meaning if you need to add somebody that has never been in IGX, never been in NJ Sage, then you would want to do the new user button. And so then you would fill in all of the required fields. If I just give an empty save here, you'll see These are our required fields. They have to have a first and last name. They must have an email. They must have a role, and then login credentials. If you instead need to add someone to your organization that is already in the system somewhere, but not associated with your organization yet, we do have this other option of add existing user to organization. So I could click this and search out somebody else that maybe is helping out another county. Maybe you have a consultant that helps out 2 different areas and they need to be added here so that they can access your grant and help you fill in any information. You can type in that person's name, hit search, and then we'll see we have some options here. These are other users in the system that matched our name that we can add. And so we would select a role. Let's say we need this person to be an agency administrator rights so they can save and maybe submit things. We would enter an active date, and then on save, the system's going to send that user an email saying, hey, Jersey City is requesting that you join their organization. Do you accept? And then there will be a link that will automatically take them into the system and thereby accept that offer to be a part of that organization so that they can now be added to those related documents and work on any of your grants or reports that you might need them for. So that is organization members. There are some additional screens here I don't think pertain to you guys too much. Organization categories, which is really just where we indicate that you are a county. Person categories are not so relevant for your users. So I think that kind of wraps up organizations and profiles for us. So I'm going to now head back to our home screen by clicking home in the top left corner of the screen. Here we are back on our dashboard. And so now I'll talk about this dashboard a little further. We see there are numerous panels here. And so the first one that you may be used to seeing in the old system would be My Opportunities. And My Opportunities is where you would go to start applications for grants that you may want to apply for. In the case of our non-competitive grants, you will not have to come to this My Opportunities. These documents or contracts will already be generated for you. And so you'll be able to find them in a number of other places. You shouldn't have to come here. But if you were applying for a grant outside of the non-competitive local areas, let's say, for example, you wanted to start a Pathways grant or a Bridges to Employing Youth application, you can click on one of these links to start that application if it's within the time frame and you are eligible. So that's My Opportunities. Of course, as you can see, we have options to filter, just like with most of our other panels here and throughout the system. We like to include filtering options so that you can most easily find anything you're looking for. The next I want to mention is My Tasks. So My Tasks is probably one of the most important things that you guys will be worried about when you do log in. What is on your task list? Because that is usually what you need to do right now. So here is where you would find your contract if it is, let's say, sitting in contract negotiations, which is the most common step that our documents do sit in so that you can process payments and expenditures while throughout the life of your contract. So in my case, I could search out. I know that I have my contract for Jersey City and it ends in the number 039. So I'll type that in name and click search and see only one document is returned, and that is my contract. And we can see some information about it, just like in the old system, we've got the name of the document. This is our document number. Reminder that this is a critical piece of information for reporting any issues. If you need help from the labor team or myself, this is our step one to helping you troubleshoot. Next, we see what type of document it is. So if this was a payment voucher, we would see payment voucher here instead. The organization, which really isn't so relevant for you guys. If you're only working under one, it'll always be your county or your organization. The current status of this document. So right now, my contract is sitting in contract negotiations, and the status date. So when my contract entered this status is what will be listed here. Due date, not as relevant for our contracts, but if you had an open application that maybe was only going to be open for a couple weeks, it would list that due date here. Another fun panel I want to mention before I dive into this document, if I scroll down a little bit, you'll see we have this panel called My Documents. And so My Documents is very similar to My Tasks, but the primary difference is My Tasks means this document is in a status that currently requires my attention. When you, let's say I did all my payments, I'm good, I've filled out my subrecipient agreements and made all my signatures, and now I've submitted my contract, it's not going to be listed here in My Tasks anymore, but you can always find it under My Documents. So if I search down here with that same 039, I will again find it. Search. Okay, well, it will. I'm not sure what I've done there, but I will take another look at that. But the point is, it does list out all of our. Oh, there's my 39 right there. So I could click on the name here or here from My Tasks and head into that actual contract document. Lastly, of course, we always have a generic announcements panel in case there's ever announcements that the department wants to release to you guys. You have a quick view of it. Right. So with that being said, I'm now going to hop into my contract by clicking on the document name from My Tasks. Okay, so once you click on that document name or number, we come to what we call a document landing page. In the old system, you may have seen this referred to as a snapshot or a document snapshot. So here we're calling it a landing page because it's where you land when you click on that document name. From here, we can see a number of things. Every document will always have this standard panel at the top here that lists some generic information about your document, such as what template you're on. So this is a 2025 non-competitive grant. Your document name, the number we clicked on, the status, my role on the document. This can be important if you have a user with multiple roles, because in IGX, we do have the ability to assign more than one role to a particular user. So if you have more than one role on your user profile and you are perhaps assigned to a document with the wrong role, you'll be able to identify that by looking here at what your role is assigned on this document. If we scroll down a bit, this part should look familiar from the old system. We've got some generic information about our organization, such as the address, the authorized official assigned to this document, and some other high-level organ information. Note that we've got some emails listed here for additional help. If you have any WIOA or Work First issues or concerns or questions, you can reach out to these emails for help. Then we have some allocation chart numbers. So you may notice that there are 2 blank columns here. Please do not be alarmed by that. This is to account for the counties that serve multiple counties. So if you are serving Morris, Sussex, Warren, I believe is one of them. So if you 3 are on your document, you'll see that there will be a column filled out for the allocations of each of those counties. If you are just a single county, you will only have that first column filled in. So this should look pretty similar to the old system, aside from those blank columns. We can see our allocations for each funding type and a grand total at the bottom. Reminder that this is a test system, so this is just some made-up numbers here. Please don't read into that too much. So from here, the next thing I want to show you now is within our navigation menu on the left side, this light blue list of forms. This used to be called your forms menu within that little green dot when you were looking at your contract document in the old system. Now these forms and tools, all of those items that were under those green dots are listed under this navigation menu. So we see here we've got forms, but if I was to collapse that or just scroll down, you'll see I also have tools. And if I keep going, status change options and related documents. So all of these things are compiled into this list for you to navigate to through this menu. So before I dive into all those tools, I'm going to scroll back up. Let's start with a page you should all be familiar with, applicant information. Right, so this should look quite similar to what you've seen before. This is just our generic applicant information page where we want you to select your project director and CEO contact. Just like in the old system, if a field is required, it's going to be marked with that red asterisk. These drop downs will list out the users that are associated with the organization that can be selected. Selecting and save will automatically populate all of the related data from that user's profile. And please note that if I was to save this without entering this information, I should get an error. So you see the system does not really want me to submit this document until these have been satisfied. A difference about IGX versus the old system is when you have multiple errors on a screen, these can now be clicked and they will take you right to wherever that error is firing. We call that an anchor. So this anchors us up to that top field to say, well, you need to fill that in. Also, on your forms menu, you'll notice now that I have a little exclamation point next to that form name, indicating that there's errors on that page. If all was filled out and no errors, we would see a check instead, like this form. Let's take a look at our funding levels by source form. This is one of your next most important forms, I would say, as it lays out those allocations for you, just like on our landing page. We can see the breakdown of what funding we are receiving for each of the line items that we are receiving for, along with a grand contract total at the bottom. Right. So that's funding levels by source, should look very familiar, similar to the old system, maybe just a little more spaced out. Next, we have our project location page. Again, this one should be similar to the old system, where it's just a list that you will select your county. So I can select where I'm operating from. And there are some other forms here, may not be as critical to you, but just want to make a note of, we have this reports and status form. So this is not something that you will actually work on, but it is a handy tool as you get later in the life of your contract. This is just a page that gives you a quick summary of all of the sub-documents that have been created. So all of your payments and your reports, it'll just list out what the document number was for each month and whether your payments were actually paid and the check numbers associated. And then, of course, we always have a miscellaneous attachments form. Should you need to upload any kind of documentation to share with the department, they may ask you to upload it here. Note that the last row is repeatable. Slight difference from the old system with repeatable rows. It used to be that the system would automatically add rows for you on save, and now we have this handy dandy plus button for you to add rows or subtract rows if you don't actually need to add it. But nice feature that you can add as many as you wish without saving the page. Right. So next is the fun stuff of our cost summaries. So I'm going to pull up our WIOA cost summary. So your costs, note, if you ever try to leave a page without saving and you've made changes on that page, the system is going to prompt us and say, warning, you have unsaved changes. Are you sure you want to do that? Do you want to abandon them, or should we cancel and let you save first? So in this case, I don't actually care to save those empty rows that I created. So I'm just going to hit confirm to say, I don't care, we're moving on. Oh, and I was impatient with my clicks. All right, so cost summaries. These screens should look just like they did in the old system, with the exception of WIOA, because we did have some changes with youth work experience. Before, we had a separate little table to capture youth work experience amounts below the table, and they have now been moved to be columns within the table. So please note, that is the main difference out of all of your cost summaries. This is the only change so far this year. So as before, we can see our line items and we can fill in all of the allocation amounts we need to. We can see our percentages totaling up at the bottom as we save information. And just as in the old system, this information can be filled out and updated while you have reports in process. If you have an expenditure report in process and you need to make an edit here, saving this will update your expenditure report form as well. Now, just a note, these cost summaries are much larger than most of the screens that you'll see in IGX. And so we have set a default zoom on them so that when you enter this page, you do get the full view of this table. Please note that, of course, you can zoom in however you go about it, whether that's a Control plus with your keyboard or Control and scroll. We can go in and out. And if we do scroll in, please note that the system does automatically create this little scroll bar at the bottom. So if your screen is maybe smaller and it's a little hard on the eyes and you need to scroll, zoom in, just note that you have that scroll option down there. I'm gonna bring it back out now. Right. So that's cost summaries. I can click through a couple more just to show you. But like I said, there were not any changes to formatting for any of these other cost summaries. It's really just WIOA that had the change with those 2 columns for work experience. Feel like I have gone over a lot of information. So I'm just going to take a quick pause point to see if we have any questions, Anne or Chitra, that we need to address before I move forward. Have you seen anything I should slow down
I've been
for?
answering them as we go.
Okay,
Unless anyone else wants to, enter any more questions on this section, we'll answer them as we move along. I believe I've answered all the questions posed so far.
awesome. Way to go.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to scroll down then. Notice of awards is a form that I know everyone will want to see. So this is the screen that lets you access your notice of award letters. So as you should be used to, we've always had this notice of awards form. It's located below your cost summaries in this navigation menu. And when we click on it, we can see we have a section for every potential process that your awards could go through. If your awards have already been awarded, so no longer pending any internal executive review for the department, you would see them listed here under notice of awards. And this blue is our links to those individual letters. So I can click on this and the system will automatically open up that letter for me. So that's notice of awards. And then below that, you'll see we have all of our contract forms. I do believe we're going to return to contracts to get in a little deeper down the road. Correct me if you want me to click on something, Anne, Chitra. Otherwise, I'm going to move along down to tools. So talking through our tool options. First, you'll see landing page. So this is just going to bring you to that landing page that we come to whenever we click on the document number. It's less of a tool, more of a navigation tool. So that's landing page. Next is add edit people. This is an important one. This is similar to your organization members, where it lists out everyone associated now with our document instead of the organization. So in my case, Serena's the only one that's been assigned to my document so far. If I wanted to add people, I would use that handy dandy plus button in the top right corner. I think you guys are all going to start saying handy dandy plus button as you use the system now to add users from your organization to your contract if you need to, or invite users. In the case of, let's say, a consultant, if you had somebody that is already in the system that you want to come help you out on this document, we can invite that user. And just like with the organization members, the system's going to send them an email saying, so-and-so invited you, click here to join. And the system will automatically take them in and add them to the document. And also note the little pencil here will also let you edit the association for any users listed on this document. So if I was not Serena, I could edit Serena and say, you can't be active here anymore by entering in an inactive date through that modal. That's add edit people. Next, we have a status history. This is a nice tool that shows you all the process steps that your document has gone through throughout its life. So from the moment that the department initiates your award, that will be logged in here, exactly when and by who. And then we will see every process step that happens after that, which is also nice if you're in a review period where you have submitted your contract, let's say, and you're looking for how far along your contract is, and with the department, you'll be able to see that status listed here, along with any notes. If there are any particular notes, let's say your contract was sent back to you, or your maybe your report was sent back to you, and the department is looking for you to modify or edit a particular page or value, they can leave a comment as they're changing the status, and that comment would be logged here under notes with that process step. Also, any notes left with a status change or with a form will all be rolled up into the tool that we call Notes under Tools. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself there with the notes, so I'm going to just continue in order here. Date modification is really if your track dates were changed after they were already set, and this would only be done by the department. You wouldn't be able to make such edits, you would just view it. Next tool is an attachment repository. So this is a nice tool that will roll up any document that you've uploaded to your contract on any of the pages. This tool will roll those all up into one list for you. Currently, my contract doesn't have any uploads, so I don't have anything listed here. But if I did, you would see a record for each of those uploads and the ability to zip them up and export them all together if you needed to, or choose which ones you want to zip up and export. Notification summary is similar to something you had in the old system. This is meant to show you differences if your contract was to go through a modification that triggered different versions to be taken, and you wanted to view what was the value then versus now. This tool would show us that. Document validation is the next tool we have, and this is similar to something we had in the old system called check global errors, but it's just called document validation now. And what it's doing is it's looking for any error checks that are firing on our contract right now and telling us if it would prevent us from changing the status. So as we can see here, my document has quite a few errors left on it that still need to be addressed. And we can see what is that error that is firing? Is it going to prevent us from changing the status? And then these form names are hyperlinks that can take us directly into those forms to address those errors. So this is a nice tool to use before you're about to submit a document. If you think that you're about there and ready, it's a good idea to run this document validation just to check and make sure there aren't any other lingering errors that maybe you missed and would stop you from proceeding. Next is that notes tool that I mentioned. And so this is a roll up of all the notes left in regards to this contract, whether on a status change or a form. They are rolled up here. We can also leave new notes here. Note that a difference from the old system is now with our notes, we can attach files. So we can upload a document to go along with our note, maybe to justify a request or an ask or something. We also have some additional formatting options, which were not available in the old system. Can be nice if you need to leave a list, perhaps. The next tool we have is print document. So this is a nice tool, a little different from the old system. You could print individual forms in the old system, or you could do a full print version in the old system. But what we can do now is say, we want any variation of a mix of pages. Maybe we want to include these pages, or we want to include them with attachments. But we could also say, maybe we want some blank copies. We want a blank version of all of the cost summaries so that we can handwrite some information and then load it in. We have the ability to configure a print version to your liking. And so you all will have the ability to select these buttons as you wish to include or exclude as much as you want when you are printing. Then the last tool we see
Brady, one
is,
thing on print, that works the same way for expenditure reports if they choose to, when they get to that document. Same
yes,
same
yep.
thing. Okay, thank you.
All of these tools will be available to you on any of your documents. So whether that's your contract, your payment voucher, or your expenditure report, all of those will have this toolbox, if you will, at the bottom of your forms menu, and the option to print or validate any of those documents. So now I'll show you document messages. So this is a tool that will let you send out or respond to messages that have been sent within the system from other users associated with your document. So this feature lets us, with our handy dandy plus button, create new messages if we wanted to, let's say, send a message to our contract administrator or program staff from the department. We could click this to go through the prompts of creating a message and sending to them. Or we can view, we can also find notifications that have gone out associated with my contract. So I know that there is one that goes out, and I'm going to change this to say everyone. So a notification was sent out. It could have been to me, or it could have been to someone else on this contract. If I say everyone and hit search, I can see the grant system has sent a notification to say that this contract has made it through the NOA department approved status, meaning my allocations have been awarded and I can start making payments. So I can view that clicking on this little envelope and get those details. So next in our forms menu, we have status options. So this is going to be relevant to whatever document you're on and whatever the status of that document is. So because we are currently in contract negotiations, which you may have noticed me coming up to this top number up here, if we hover over this document name, we can see some additional information similar to what we saw on our dashboard and our landing page. We got our template name, our status, organization, my role, etc. But the important thing is that status. So we're in contract negotiations right now, which means that our only status change option as a grantee is to submit the contract. So I have one option listed here under status options that says submit contract. So if all of those errors that were mentioned in my document validation were satisfied, we could click this to actually submit and change the status. A reminder that you'll always be prompted with the option to leave a note with that status change.
And just to reinforce, that would be your authorized official. That's the one that has signature authority to sign contracts, would be hitting that submit and also signing on those contract pages. the agency administrators, most of you that are on this call that do, you know, the work, you can fill out those application pages and send those pages, but the contract has to be signed by that authorized official.
Yep. And that authorized official should be the person that was selected on your applicant information page. All right. So now let's move into related documents. So we can see from here, there are some options to go into documents. So we see non-competitive expenditure and payment voucher. These are both listed here because our contract already has some of these documents existing. If we hadn't started either of those yet, this area would be blank and we would only have this button option. Please note this button is also available from your home screen on the dashboard. Your My Tasks now has this option to initiate related documents. So this is how we're now starting our payment vouchers and expenditure reports. So if I was to click this, we get a little pop-up modal that has some different options because this tool is able to work from any of your documents that you're associated with. So by clicking this here while I'm on this document, the system will default the parent document with my contract number. Parent document is meaning the contract. So your expenditures and your payment vouchers are what we call children documents or sub-documents, making your contract the parent. So we want your parent to be your contract number. Reminder, mine was ending in that 039, so that is the right one. And then available documents is the next to notice. And so we want to select what instance of document we're looking to start. In my case, I already have some documents started that I'm going to show you, but I just want you to know that you have this drop down here. And so it will list out an option for every instance that is available for you to initiate. So in real life, you will likely not have every single month available to you at the same time. But because we are in a testing environment and testing right now, we do see many options. But I would expect you to always see at least one payment voucher option, or you can start up to six payment vouchers in a month. And so you can keep clicking the appropriate payment voucher instance. You'll see down here, I have some payment voucher instances available to me. Make sure you're clicking the appropriate month and year. These should automatically be the appropriate month and year. And there's also expenditures. And so again, you should only have one of each at a time. Based on availability, I'm sure there could be some times where there's overlaps if perhaps something is sent back to you or you were requested additional reporting from the department. They will make that option available to you in this dropdown. So once you have what you want to create selected, you can click that create button and the system will generate that expenditure report or that payment voucher. In my case, I know I already have these documents created, so I'm going to now just show you how you get to them once they already are. So that was our initiate related doc button under related documents. Reminder, it is on your home screen attached to the My Tasks. Below that, you see now we have a couple options. I'm going to start with clicking on payment vouchers. So when I click on this, we get another side panel to pop open, listing out every document we have created under that template or process. So if I was to click on expenditure, you'll see I have two options here because we've had two expenditures throughout the life of this contract. And we can see the status to help you identify which one you might be looking for. It also lists out the instance that that document was related to. So this was my June expenditure report. So it's listed under June expenditure report instance. But let's start with our payment vouchers, of which I only have one right now, but we are going to click on this document name to head into our payment voucher. When we first click on it, we come back to, again, a document landing page. So this is just your generic landing screen. Whenever you click on a document name, that gives you that high level information about it, such as what type of document it is. In our case today, now we're in a payment voucher. So it says payment voucher here, and we can see our document status also indicates payment voucher, as this voucher was already approved. And on the far left, we've got our navigation menu again, all of the same high-level options that we've seen on the contract with forms, tools, status options, and related documents. Fun fact about IGX with our related documents is that we can access any related documents from any related documents, meaning that from my payment voucher, I can get to expenditure documents. Whereas before in the old system, you would have had to go back into your contract before you could then see expenditure reports associated. So that's just a nice little tool for helping you navigate quickly should you need to. But more importantly, let's take a look at forms. So there's one main form that we all care about on the payment voucher, and that's the payment voucher. Right. So this should look very familiar and similar to what we had in the old system, maybe just a little larger, a little more spaced out, but it is the same in that we have all the same funding types listed out. You'll have a field for each. Note that if there's a fund that you are not awarded for, let's say you didn't get any We Owe a Youth money, then this cell would be grayed out and you would not be able to enter any numbers in here. Just like with the old system, we do have this set up to automatically transfer. Any values that you enter in this chart are going to move their way down into the two charts below so that you don't have to type that in repetitively. What you will have to do, though, is still check these declarations to attest to this information and certify. In your forms menu, you'll note we do also have a miscellaneous attachments form here. In case there's ever an upload or some documentation you need to support your payments that the department may request, you can upload those to your miscellaneous attachments form here. And then this A1 OPVL return form is something you may have seen in the old system, but is not so relevant to your daily lives as it is the department. This is just where we would see return information from CFS processing your payments after it's been successful. The system is going to stamp some generic information onto this screen, like a check number and the amount you were paid. That is payment vouchers. Now going to move into our expenditures. So like I mentioned before, under related documents, we can get back to our contract, which in the old system was required to get to our expenditures. But since we don't have to take that leap this time, we're going to go straight into expenditures from our voucher. And you can see we have more than one. We're going to take a look at the most recent one created that's still currently in process so that you can see the cumulative values populated from our previous report. So clicking on that document name brings us again to a document landing page just like with our payment vouchers and contracts, you have that high-level information at the top. And then down below, similar to the old system, we have a breakdown of the different funding types and what the spend down has been so far to date. Note that the current monthly payments right now have no values because these forms still need to be filled in, as this is a fresh report. All right, so looking at our forms menu now, this should look familiar and similar to what you have in your current system. Note that this is a test case where we were granted all of the different funding types. So we have a lot of different forms here, but if you were only awarded a fraction of them, you would only see the screens for those that you're awarded for. So knowing that We Owe a Youth is really the primary funding type that received changes this fiscal year, I'm going to load our We Owe a Youth expenditures page. But all of these other screens should still look just as they did in the old system. It's just that now we're in IGX and your navigation is different. You may notice, this is done loading, I guess, that there are a couple of buttons at the top of this screen. Override and approved, you'll see these are not so relevant to you at this time. This is a new development that will be presented when we are finished with it, but should not cause any hindrances on your immediate works. So if you do encounter any issues, please reach out to Chitra, Ann, or myself, and we'll be happy to assist. But for now, please disregard those buttons. What we do care about is our reporting period, the amount paid. Note, just like the old system, this amount paid is going to populate with whatever amounts we had received payments for in this relative month. So this is my July report. So if I had $100 in July payment vouchers for We Owe a Youth, that $100 would show here. And we can see throughout the screen, our cumulative amounts are coming over from past expenditures. And we have the ability to enter in all of our current expenditures in this column. So this screen should look very, very familiar, very similar to the old system. And as we get towards the bottom, apologies, this is probably one of our biggest screens. We see now youth work experience is looking a little different as we have full charts now for these so that you can break down your expenses by those line items relative to youth work experience. In school and out of school being their own separate charts. Going to keep scrolling here just so you can see the bottom is still just as we had in the previous system with our reconciliation section, making sure that our disbursements, payables, and expenditures are all lining up. And our fields to enter in these other situations such as cash disbursements, accounts payable, or program income, earned or expended. So all of your expenditure screens have been loaded over to IGX. They all look the same with the exception of youth here having work experience transitioned into a table. But all of these forms will look the same as they did in the old system. And they are all, just as they currently are for FY24, in this one menu. And then, of course, as all of our documents, we like to include a miscellaneous attachments form case there's ever those scenarios that the department may request some information from you or vice versa, we can submit it here. And that is expenditures. That just about wraps up everything I had to show you. An additional thing I want to note that we did not get to look at is on this banner here, which I'm going to just click home so you can see it a little more clearly. So dark blue banner here has some different options, and searches is the one I want to make sure everyone knows about. So under searches, we'll see there's a number of options. The first one listed says recent documents. And so this is a handy tool that lets us have a quick access to any documents we've been on recently. It will list up to the most recent 25 documents. So the more you have, the more you'll have to scroll to get the further away ones. But the most recent document I clicked on is going to be listed at the top. So we can see there's that expenditure report we were just looking at, and I can click there to go straight back to it. We can also see there's that payment voucher I looked at right before then, and our contract right before that. So this is just a handy way to quick access any of the documents you might have reviewed recently. Additionally, just like our My Documents panel here on the dashboard, we also have a search tab for My Documents. So your panel down here on your dashboard is intended for those parent documents, the contracts, your applications, those types of documents. But this search tab will let you search out any document that you are associated with, meaning maybe you need to find a payment voucher that was submitted and approved years ago. You can find it here. Well, years ago, granted that those years ago were an IGX, meaning years from now, you want to look at old information, you can use this to search it out. Or at the point in which we do finish up in that current NJ Sage system, we will eventually move your data over and you will be able to reference it here. So eventually all your information should be searchable through this tab. And like I mentioned before about that initiate related documents option, we can see that here on my task, we have that same button still. So if you knew you were coming into the system just to start a payment voucher, and you know your contract's already set, you can log in and just immediately hit this initiate related documents button and say, I have a non-competitive document I need to start, and then select my voucher. Right. I believe that concludes everything that I had written out to demonstrate today. Is there anything that I missed, teacher, and that you would like me to revisit or expand on?
Yeah, the administration menu on the top left is only for the Sage IGX administrators. It is not going to show up for you guys. You will be having home searches and reports only. So don't get confused when you log in.
Yep, you'll only see what you will have access to. So
yes,
as I mentioned, this is a test user and account and system, and so I have a little more access than maybe everyone else will. So you won't so much have administrative options.
and there is a way to favorite some of the frequently visited menu items with the star.
Yep.
Right
so
here.
Let's say NC is for non-competitive. So if we were often searching our non-competitive vouchers, we could star that search tab, and then we would see now a favorites listed under searches that lists out those tabs that we had starred.
This will be very handy.
Yeah, I love my stars.
Yeah, instead of searching through all the menu items.
Yep. That was a great note, teacher. Any other hidden gems that I'm missing?
And the training materials tab
Training
on.
materials are listed here. This little book over by your name in the top right has a link. And so right now there are not a whole lot of options listed, but we will be uploading a local area section to include your materials as well.
And we are also working to add this training material link to the this video to this training material link. So in
Yes.
future, if you want to access this video, you can go from the training materials. We are working on it. It's going to be there eventually.
Plan, we will be updating, and note with this training materials, you can click on this dark blue banner to move it around if you are trying to maybe view this and something behind it at the same time. You're able to do that.
Right,
And
I
so
did actually answer all the questions in the chat unless anyone has any questions. I don't think I missed any of the typed questions. I got some thumbs up signs on the answers. So just so you know that
thank you, and
the chat questions were answered. Certainly, if any opportunity now, if you need to ask any questions, you can do that now.
yeah,
Also, we are
if
available on a one-to-one basis too, of course, as we said earlier, like
yeah,
after this call.
yeah, if you have any questions related to the contract, when to sign that, Viova group is the point of contact for those kind of questions because they will be having the answers exactly for the contract related questions, right, Anne?
Yes, the Wheeler Group will be your point of contact because they can answer programmatic questions better than us on the call. We're more of the system questions like how do I log in, or maybe if you guys notice something's not adding correctly or doesn't look right, that would be where you would contact us. Programmatic questions is the WIOA group or the WFNJ team, work first team, for programmatic questions. So that would be your first point of contact for those type of questions. If you think of it ends up, if you reach out to them and it ends up being a system question, then they'll work with us to, connect with you all to rectify that. But they're taking the lead on getting those contracts signed moving forward. So, because then they can discuss with you any contract language and that type of thing.
And any amounts that is not showing up right or anything that you expect is showing wrong information, those also has to be going towards your VOA powered and new and Workforce NJ group. And if they have any concerns, like IGX is not showing this right, they are going to reach out to us. We'll work with fiscal and get that resolved for you. You can always CC us on the emails that you send out to them, so we know. And anybody has any questions, please type in the chat or you can ask away. This recording will be available for you to go back and view it later on. So please utilize it or share it with anyone who has not participated in this demo.
It will take a few days to get this uploaded into the system. We have to work with our web unit to convert this to the format for us to provide to Brandy and her team. So I wouldn't expect this video to be live in that training section until next week sometime, because we have to work with the web unit to make that conversion. So that may take a couple days.
But the recording will be available in this meeting chat
In this meeting,
itself.
yes, but if you're an
So
outside person, I don't think it opens up for you. That's sometimes people have access. If they weren't in the meeting, they may not be able to open it up.
yeah, I am
Right.
not sure how you will have access to that meeting in this chat or not. If not, then just wait for a
If you
few
need
days.
to share with somebody outside of this meeting
Mm-hmm.
before we have it posted in the training materials, I would suggest downloading it and from the meeting chat and then sharing it. Because once you've
Yeah.
downloaded it, you should have your own personal copies that you can share without restrictions.
Yeah, there is a download option in the video recording that you should be able to download.
Yep.
Any other questions from anybody? Seems to be everyone quiet.
I hope you had a good time.
Okay. Yeah, if nobody has any questions, then I think this is the end for our meeting today.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending this
We have
Thank
one
you.
question.
IGX meeting.
Angela's asking, do you want us to keep testing?
If you want to go for it, yes, definitely.
And we do
We'll have the
appreciate all those
fast one.
folks that made that effort for us. It was a very, very big help, aside from you guys learning it, but it also, we found some things to fix. So thank you all
Yes.
for doing that.
Yeah, it was very valuable input, and a lot of people came forward to test the IGX system for us, and we appreciate their efforts and finding some defects that we got corrected. So thank you so much to all of you guys who tested it for us.
I guess we should have led with that. Big thank you. Sorry, guys.
Yes, thank you everyone for your feedback and inputs. We want this to be the best that we can make it for everyone, and we can't do that without your input.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your
Bye.
afternoon.
Thank
Enjoy
you all.
your-
I hope you have a
Take
good
care,
Enjoy your
everyone.
day.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
day.